I'm Nikki Lunsford, and I'm with the Ball State Middletown Research Study Project. And we are today where Brianna's Hope meets at the Robert H. Hunt Memorial Warming Center on Pershing Drive in Muncie, Indiana. In front of me is Mr. Terry Davis, who has agreed to talk to us about Brianna's Hope and how it impacts our community and how our community has been changed by it and how it's grown as the community has changed.
Yes.
So thank you, Terry, for being with us today.
No problem. Thank you for asking me to come aboard.
Okay. My first question for you today on January 29th, 2019 is about your personal background, your life story, what brought you to this place and this date.
Yes, well, originally I started at the Garden of Gethsemane with Pastor Vicki Perkins, and I was a member there, and she asked me to come aboard for Brianna's Hope. I had been a member of the church for a couple of years, and I myself was a drug addict for over 30 years, and I ended up getting some help from I'm a veteran from the VA Center, and up in Marion, I was there in the treatment facility. It's called the SARP unit. I was there for 3 months. When I got out, even though I was drug-free, I still had a lot of problems trying to find some place to stay and various things of that nature. But being that I was a veteran, there's something called HUD-VASH, which gives veterans vouchers to have a place of their own. I obtained my voucher. It took me 3 months, though, of being still homeless before I was actually found an apartment that I could call my own, and I've been there ever since. I'm now going on 8 years drug-free and thanking the Lord for every day that I've become drug-free.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That gives you a lot of depth of wisdom that I'm sure comes to play here.
Most definitely. And one of the main things about me was I felt a need after I got myself together to try and pay it forward and help as many people that were in the same situation, because I know there are so many people that are suffering on a daily basis, and I just felt it was incumbent upon me to try to reach back to the community and help in any way possible. And when this was opened up to me by Pastor Vicki, I jumped on board. We had to meet with Pastor Randy Davis, who actually started Brianna's Hope in Red Key, Indiana. This was started 3 years ago, and it all began because of a young lady named Brianna who lived in Red Key, and she was a very well-known and very well-liked young lady. And at the age of 15, she got involved with some friends that were a little bit older, and she began to use heroin. Now, the thing about it, though, she was never one that anybody could really realize that she had a problem, because she continued to go to school. She was the valedictorian. She was the class president, homecoming queen, the whole 9 yards, head cheerleader. So throughout her high school years, she maintained all of her grades and everything. And it wasn't until she went off to college where people are more apt to be on their own, because they're not bound by parents or anything to, attend school. You just do what you're supposed to do at a particular time, and they expect you to be at a place at a point in time, and you're given more responsibility. This became a little bit hard for her to make it to classes and stuff, and then her drug use got worse, and she ended up coming back home. So when she came back home, her family, still loving her and realizing that she had a problem, still embraced her and tried to help her as much as they could, but there was only so much they could do for her because they didn't know how deep her drug addiction had become. The one thing that was crucial, though, her and her father kept a daily communication with one another. And the one time when she did not call home, because Red Key is such a small town, he got worried. He talked to the local sheriff. and they went on a search for her. This search lasted for 10 weeks. Now, Red Key is a very, very small town, so everyone knows everyone, but nobody was coming forward with any information. For 10 weeks, the family looked for her, and then they finally found her in a shallow, abandoned grave. And this was very, very heartbreaking to the family. So at this point in time, they contacted their pastor to figure out what it was they could do for other individuals struggling with heroin or opioid addiction. After this point, their pastor introduced them to Pastor Randy Davis, and thus Brianna's Hope was formed. And at this point in time, when it was formed, it was only in one place, and they met at the church, and they would serve a meal for people that, because a lot of people that are addicted don't have a steady diet because they use their money in order to afford their drugs, so they don't have a steady diet. So they would have a meal for them, and they would allow them to just speak their mind and talk about what it was, how they got in this situation, did they want to try to get some help. And so Pastor Davis, through his own personal bank account, decided to try to get people off the streets and send them up to Fairbanks in Indianapolis for treatment. And then they started getting donations from the people in the local area, and that's how they would fund sending people off for treatment.
Interesting. Now, was Randy Davis, what created that passion in him to jump on this bandwagon and get Brianna's Hope going?
I think it was the overall devastation of the way they found Brianna and the family reaching out to him. And like I said, this was just something that was in his heart, that he felt there was something that the community needed. They needed somebody to reach out to people that were struggling and try to bring them closer to God, and at the same time get them help. That's the reason why Brianna's Hope is a faith-based organization, because it primarily centers off trying to get you help, but at the same time it wants you to grow closer to the Lord.
Okay. How long ago was Brianna's life and death?
That was, like I said, that was 4 years ago.
So that's pretty recent.
Yes, 4 years ago.
4 years ago. All right. This organization didn't exist 4 years ago. Why might that be? Brianna obviously was the spark that ignited the organization, but the problem didn't happen in a day. It didn't happen overnight.
Right. Well, like I said, I think it just was the fact that there was really no one that was ready to spearhead and take some sort of leadership role in this addiction process. I mean, we had the Meridian services and other places that people could go for help, but they didn't know how to go about trying to further after they would get help, aftercare, or anything like that. So basically we just were so hit by this heroin addiction so rapidly, we just weren't prepared for it.
Well, talk about that a minute ago. A minute. How did that come here? What do you know that created the need for Brianna's Hope?
Okay, well, primarily individuals would go to their doctor if they had some sort of physical problem for pain pills or things of that nature. Well, then the regulations said that the individuals were getting too much too soon. They were having too many access to too many pills at one time, and they were getting a lot of people that were having overdoses and stuff. So they started regulating the amount of prescriptions that they would fill out. They had various doctors that you could go to in these smaller towns that would just write a prescription. You could say that you had a fall the other day and not even really be examined, and they would just write you a prescription. But then when they cut back on that, that made individuals have to try to find out how they could get their addiction or their pills for their pain in a different manner. So they turned to street drugs, which started with heroin. And after that, it just got to the hydrocodone and other pills that they would find on the streets, and the street drug value is increased. It's you have to pay a heavier price for it, and individuals just started, instead of just taking them, consuming them, they would shoot them up. They would break the pills down into a powder form and then put it in a syringe and shoot it up. This was causing some individuals to become overdosed because they were getting that whole pill in its entirety straight into the vein instead of intravenously like it's supposed to be given. And then when this stepped up in Muncie, it got to the point where the sheriff became more involved, and they were busing people that they were finding just out of it in their cars, overdosed. Parents with children, that you would have never thought, there was anything wrong with them. They would find them in cars slumped over from shooting up heroin, and it was just gotten to the point where it was rampant and out of control, and we needed to do something about it. And like I said, when it started in the smaller towns, but it came to Muncie, it just came like a wildfire. One minute it was crack cocaine, and then crack cocaine was no longer around, and it started with meth and heroin and the opioids. And it just, one of the main things about meth was it could be made at home. You could get the drugs from the store, from the pharmacy, Sudafed and other items that you needed to mix this up, and you could actually make it at home. And this, it was cheaper because they could make it themselves, but it was also more deadly because a lot of people didn't really understand the compound mixture that they're supposed to make it up. And if you mix it up wrong, it can become inflammable. And there were people that were getting caught on fire in their cars, in their homes, because they would have this, what they call mobile meth labs, where they were mixing it up in their car, so that they could take it, anytime they wanted to. And it just got to the point where it just spiraled out of control.
So how has Brianna's Hope relationships with the clients changed over the time period that we've been around?
Well, like I said, Brianna's Hope that was started in Red Key, it was started more with the idea that the individuals would come and they would be forward about their addiction, want to try to get some help, and basically lead the Brianna's Hope meetings and stuff to the point where they were reaching out to their own other friends that were addicted. Well, in Muncie, it kind of went the other way. We struggled trying to get individuals to come to our meetings. A lot of it was people just did not want to come forward and accept the fact that they had a problem. And then there was some people that just felt like they weren't that person. They didn't need that particular type of help. They were okay with what they were doing. And then it was a thing of, some people thought that Brianna's Hope was going to be something where you had to be in the church itself, because of the fact that it's a faith-based organization, and a lot of people felt like they were not ready to come to God with their problem. So we've had a very major shift because we changed the time frame. What we did was we wanted to appeal to individuals that were already coming to the warming center to eat meals on Tuesdays, but they were coming earlier than what we were actually having Brianna's Hope. We were having Brianna's Hope. It started at 6:30, and they were coming around 4 o'clock, and by 6 they were already gone. So what we did, we moved the meal back to 5:30, and then they could eat from 5:30 to 6:15. Then we had fellowship, and a lot of people were still here. And with the weather being inclement like it is, people want to continue to stay warmer. Thus, we can speak more freely and allow them to understand more about Brianna's Hope. And as we began to expound, people began to just understand that it wasn't so much that you had to be faith-oriented, you just had to understand that that's what this started as, but you are allowed to speak your mind and tell us anything that you want to talk about, how you got into this process, what kind of help can we give you. We have 3 leaders that are in charge of Brianna's Hope, Linda DeHaven, myself, and Naomi Saunders. We tandemly work together as far as constructing the meetings, and then we will talk to an individual. If there's an individual that feels that they need to get some particular help, we will talk to them at length and make sure that they are ready. We don't want to just send you there and then like in a week you want to come back and get out, because the funding is provided for by the organization of Brianna's Hope, because now there are over 30 chapters. Like I said, it started with just one in Red Key, and we have some as far as Lafayette. We're trying to get some in Indianapolis. We have them in Winchester and other surrounding counties. So with the funding that we have, all the money that we take a donation each night, and it all just goes into a collective pot towards helping any individuals. So it could be somebody that our money in Muncie is helping that is in Winchester or is in Lafayette, and vice versa.
Well, that's interesting, and I want to get to funding in a little bit. Before we go there, though, what are the key goals of this organization? And what challenges does this organization have to meet those goals?
Well, the key goal is to, like I said, help as many individuals who are struggling with hurts, habits, hang-ups, or addictions. You don't necessarily have to have a drug habit to come to Brianna's Hope. You could have some other situation that you feel like you need some sort of counseling about, and we try to help individuals in a variety of ways. We have other services besides Brianna's Hope, like I said, Meridian Services. There are people that are homeless. We've used Bridges, which is a local institution here in Muncie that helps people who have a problem being homeless. And then, like I spoke about, HUD-VASH, which is for military individuals who are homeless. We can get them vouchers, and then they can get themselves a home. And it's based off, if you don't have any income, then you pay very little or nothing. And then they try to help you get a job and help you get back on the right side of everything. So what we want to do is we want to just be a footstool for the community to rebound off and try to get you back on your feet in any way possible. Now, for individuals who do have a drug addiction, like I said, what we try to do for them is we try to get them off to our place up in Indianapolis is our main place, and it's Fairbanks. Mm-hmm. But we also have one as far down as Florida where people can get help. Because a lot of the problem is people don't know how to disassociate themselves from the people that they've been running with. One of the main things that you have to do is separate yourself from people, places, and things that could allow you to return back to your addiction.
So is that the root cause of not being able to meet that goal, of not being able to help people? What's the biggest hindrance to being able to help people? Is it they don't come through the door, or they're not ready for help when they get here, or what's the biggest
I would say
challenge?
There's a combination of those things. The one is they don't feel like they need the help, a lot of people, and then they're afraid that their kids may be taken. And then if you have that situation, then you have to worry about, well, what's going to happen to my family as it is based now? Because there are a lot of individuals who have family, 2 and 3 kids, and they're addicted, but they try to maintain a regular lifestyle. Their kids go off to school, and no one in the school system knows that their parent is addicted to drugs. And if that was to become known this kid is going to be a part of the system, and the parents don't want to lose their children.
Right.
And then you have some that just really don't know what to do. They're lost. There's a person who is lost in society and has just lost their will and their way to figure out what to do next.
So demoralizing. So what challenges have you found in finding staff or expertise for this organization? What challenges have you found in
The
finding
challenges
staff?
we've had with staffing is they don't understand that Brianna's Hope is not just that one day, Tuesdays from 5:30 to 8. This is a 24/7, 7 days a week problem. You have to be ready to tackle this head on, and you have to be able to commit your time. And I devoted my time because, like I said, I was a drug addict for many years, and I know how you can fall into the pits and just feel like there's no hope. And I wanted to reach back and help as many individuals as I possibly can. I'm retired, so I have a lot of time on my hands. I don't have to go punch in a clock. I don't have little kids that I have to raise. My daughter is full grown. And for a lot of people, they think that, well, okay, if I come on this day, maybe I don't want to come the next week. But you got to be there every week, because if you just help one person, because like I said, there were times when there was only 2 or 3 people here besides the staffing people. And I still felt that we had productive meetings, and I felt like God was still present and I was doing the right thing. Sure, sometimes I got a little discouraged when the end of the day, but I just had to turn to God and pray to him and hope that we could expound upon this in a different way. And like I said, we've gone through a couple of people that were here, and then they decided, well, this just wasn't for them. We had a person whose family issues stopped them from being able to come. So you just have to learn to try to adapt. And if we get somebody else new on board, welcome them, tell them about what we're trying to do, see if they want to be a part of this. Because being a part of the community like this is not for everyone. You can't just like I said, you just can't turn a light switch on and off with a drug addiction. You have to be fully invested, and you have to care enough to be there anytime. I'm talking like if somebody calls you at 3 o'clock in the morning, you may be completely asleep, but you need to be able to say, well, hey, we can meet on this certain day, or we can meet a little bit later in the day. Or if there's been times where I've actually had to get up and go meet with this person someplace like IHOP or something, and just let them know that somebody cares, because that's another thing. People, when they get in a certain situation, they don't think anybody really cares about them anymore. And that can be the most disheartening thing as far as trying to help someone who's addicted there is. If you've lost hope, it's kind of hard to get you back.
Right. Okay, so now let's go to the nitty-gritty, the budget and the funding. What is your budget? Who takes care of the budget? What are your sources of funding?
Well, it's like I said, it started out with just personal donations, anyone willing to give money. But since Pastor Davis started, we've gotten some people on board that knew how to write grants to help with federal funding and addiction process. So we've gotten grants. We've gotten major other contributors. We've went to different other churches. We've just allowed ourselves to be a magnet for anyone who is willing to get a part of this. You can donate. So it's still primarily off donations, but we do a lot of grant writing, and we've gotten a lot of funds that way. And Pastor Davis is going to speak before the state legislature coming up soon, and he's going to requisition that they try to get even more funding, because we just got a major grant approved 2 months ago, 2.5, 3 months ago, and he spoke about it, where we can actually go into the school system and talk to young kids about the parallels of drug addiction and stuff, and we're hoping that we can springboard off of that and start getting even larger in the community. We want to get as far up to Indianapolis and just try to make it a concerted effort to get everyone on board and let them know that we're here and what we can do to help.
Okay. So on your budget, though, like, do you have a budget for this Brianna's Hope, and is there a budget for the other one, or is there an overall one? Who pays for the food? Who pays for you to be on guard 24 hours a day?
Well, actually, my time is donated. I don't receive anything for it, and I wouldn't want anything anyway. I would just donate whatever money they would give to me back into the pot. As far as Pastor Davis, he started this with his own funding, and like I said, he graduated. The community of Red Key was very receptive in trying to help. So they knew people that would supply food and cook the dinners, just like this young lady that went back there to put our meal together. Now, they are paid by the church, Main
Gethsemane.
Street,
Okay.
Garden of Gethsemane Church. They're paid by them to provide these meals. So it actually comes through the church funding under what is called the WOW administration. We have it's a funding that we have set aside for different activities such as this, and each Sunday we have a collection where we pass around through the church members, and we fund it that way. And there's also Pastor Davis has, like I said, his own grants that he's written, and it's just a collection of a lot of different entities that come together to make it as whole. So I don't know if Lafayette runs the exact same way as we do, but I know that all the monies is taken and it's put into Pastor Davis's Red Key account.
Gotcha.
And then it's dispersed as needed. So it's not where somebody can say, oh, well, we don't have enough to get T-shirts, because we give individuals T-shirts that have come to 3 meetings. We give them blankets their first meeting.
Oh.
And these things all, like you said, cost money. But through the fact that we have generated such a response from a lot of older donors who have financial means, that are retired, but they just want to help. Well, we've gotten thousands of dollars donated to us on a regular basis, and it's not for one of us to, we don't count it up at the end of the day. I don't count the money. All I do is take whatever donation we have, I give it to Mrs. DeHaven. She takes it to the Garden of Gethsemane Main Church, and they have a fund called Brianna's Hope Fund. Go to that account, and then they do with it what they do from there.
So, but you said it goes to Randy Davis, so it goes to basically to Garden of Gethsemane. But if Randy needs something to go to Lafayette, he can tap that, or does that kind of stay here, and how does that work?
Now, I don't want to say something that I'm not for sure about, because I don't have any financial control over where the money goes after it leaves here. All I know is Pastor Davis has an account, and he can get funds from any account to do whatever he deems necessary, because this is his organization.
So the first thing you do when you need T-shirts, you need blankets, you go to Garden of Gethsemane. And then
Right.
if there's not quite enough in that coffer, then you go to Randy.
Well, we've never had that problem.
There you go.
It's like when all I do is I tell them what we need, and then they'll say, well, okay, you go out and you find a distributor that makes T-shirts. Like we use the Country Shack, which is a Muncie-owned local organization, and I talk to the proprietor, Scott, and I'll tell him, well, we need this many larges, this many extra larges, or whatever. I give him a T-shirt of what I want it to look like, and then he will make them up, and we just go to the Garden of Gethsemane. When they're made up, we get the check. We give him the check. He gives us the shirts, and like I said, it goes from there.
Okay. Well, moving on from that, you mentioned that Randy was going to talk to the legislatures. How is Brianna's Hope affected by the local, state, and federal regulations?
Well, I think that he has talked with individuals prior to this meeting that he's going to have, and pretty much laid out how this is a faith-based organization. So it falls under the guidelines of church. I can't remember what it's three. I can't remember what the name of it is. It's like when it's a church funded thing, you don't get a chance to tax it or whatever.
501c3.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
When you mentioned that 3, I thought it's got to be a 501c3.
I'm sorry.
Nope, that's okay. So Brianna's Hope is a 501c3.
Yes, and so therefore, whenever he needs whatever he needs, he will, like I said, get a grant, or he just talks to different individuals and lets them know what we are and what we're about, and then that's how it goes forward.
Okay. Do you have any connections to other faith communities besides Garden of Gethsemane? You mentioned the HUD-VASH. You mentioned Meridian. What about other organizations and community services are you linked up with?
Like I said, we're hooked up with Bridges, which is, like I said, they help people who don't have homes. We've talked to the Sheriff's Department, Sheriff, this is bad. I can't remember the sheriff's name of Delaware County now. He just took over, and I'm sorry.
Is this Skinner?
Yes.
Mr. Skinner? Tony
yes,
Skinner?
Tony Skinner, and he had one of his deputies come down and speak about the administration of Narcan, which is something that Ball Hospital has on hand for individuals who have overdose, where you can immediately bring them back and revive them with Narcan. We have different, like Walmart, we've had them contribute the food bank out. They've contributed food to the church itself. So it's just a multitude of the community coming together as one to try to help in any way possible.
What ways do you need help now? Do you need help to reach people? Do you need more money? What do you need?
We need help reaching out to people. We need people that are willing to be volunteer staffers. We need people to just become less afraid to let someone in about their problem. You have a lot of parents who don't want people to know that their kid is on drugs. You've got grandparents who know that their grandkids have come to them and asked them for monies, when they can't get it from their parents anymore. And we just need to be more vigilant of how strong the opioid and heroin addiction is, and the process that it's not going to be fixed overnight, but it's a daily struggle, and that we really could use as much help getting the word out about Brianna's Hope, as far as even though this is a faith-based organization, we are not solely about you have to be in our church to get help. You can come from any walk of life to get help from us, because we will turn no one away.
What do you see with children with this whole problem?
Well, a lot of children don't get a chance to eat properly because their parents are not there for them like they should be. They're quite frankly, they're all worried about their addiction, and the kids suffer. They may have clothing issues that they need because the parents have used up whatever funds they get from the government, sold their food stamps, their TANF for drugs, and then the kid is lacking. And then another area where it really hurts kids is if your parent is on drugs, they don't help you with after school things. So your homework is suffering. You have the kids have to learn how to do their own stuff their own way. And it could be wrong, but they don't have anybody to check it. So that a lot of times they get embarrassed because they're not getting their work right, so they don't turn it in. Then their grades suffer, and they're basically feeling like it's their fault because they can't get this right. And they're feeling like they're dumb, but it's really not them. It's just the fact that they don't have the proper maintenance at home to help them.
Support. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Is there anything else that in 10 years from now we will be so different that we would want to know now?
I hope that 10 years from now that Brianna's hope has grown so large in this community that this building is not big enough for it, because this building really should be filled to the capacity every Tuesday. But I would hope that each and every church in Muncie, Indiana would get involved in some sort of way and lend a hand, and we become a global sensation where people are talking about us, not just in Muncie, but they're talking about us as far as New York and worldwide, because the addiction process is worldwide. It's not just a local thing. And I really would like to see us grow in a way in which if 10 years from now I'm still around and me and you talk, we're saying that we have like 200 or 300 chapters, and we are so involved in helping the kids as well as the parents that we've really gotten a chance to get some sort of a hold on this drug addiction problem, because we need to get this fixed some kind of way, because without the help of the community, there's going to be a lot of individuals lost, going to prisons, and that's not where people that have drug problems really need to be. It doesn't help them none to be in prison, because they can still get drugs, believe it or not, in prison, and they don't get a chance to learn any sort of trade or anything, and they come right back out, get right back with the same people, places, and things, and go right back again. You have so many repeat offenders going back because they don't have anything else to look forward to. So what I hope is that Brianna's hope, this meeting today is just the start of things that are going to be so much broader and brighter to come.
All right. Thank you very much for your time and for your work.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me, and God bless you.